Welcome. Now we have our official start to our monthly storytelling showcase. I'm very excited to welcome all of you. My name is Melissa Stone. I'm the Senior Director of Programs and Community Outreach, Community Engagement here at Mechanics Institute, and I'm very excited to greet all of you for our monthly storytelling showcase with Rosen and featuring a fantastic set of storytellers for the month of September. We're very excited to have you all back. Who is here at Mechanics Institute for the very first time? Fabulous! I love seeing new faces, and welcome back to everybody. A very quick overview about Mechanics Institute. We were founded in 1854, so we are a very old nonprofit. We are a historical landmark, cultural center, gorgeous multi-story library, world-renowned chess program, and events center like what we're doing this evening. We offer anywhere from 5 to 15 different types of programs every week here at Mechanics Institute. And I would love to encourage folks to check out more of our information at milibrary.org. Join us as a member, come back for more events. We have tons of different things going on, like our storytelling showcase, writers groups, book groups, classes, chess tournaments and classes, reference programming, all sorts of amazing things coming up. For example, tomorrow we have an online program called Book Collecting Now about book collections and archival materials with Spencer Stewart. In the evening, we have a program on garden neighborhoods of San Francisco with Richard Brandy back here at 6 o'clock. On Friday night, we have our weekly Cinema Lit program with the film Paper Moon, closing out our Hollywood New Wave theme. So we have lots of amazing things going on here at Mechanics Institute. So again, please check us out at milibrary.org. We hope to see you again very, very soon. And with that, I am very excited to welcome up to the stage Rosen.
Thank you so much. Keep it going for Alyssa Stone. And welcome everyone to Mechanics Institute to the Your Story Well Told Storytelling Showcase. I am delighted to be back. This, for those of you who have not been here before, this is my second of a recurring monthly series of shows that we're going to be doing here at Mechanics Institute. They are going to be storytelling focused series on the, just like tonight, on the last Wednesday of every month. And so I'm delighted to have such a great audience here. So thank you for coming out on a weeknight, braving the presidential motorcade. I understand that that's happening. Oh, yeah. Yeah, did that actually happen? Did it actually affect anybody that was here or coming here? Good. This is what I want to do before we even do anything regarding the show is there's I like to look online and see like what day is today. Every day is a day. Today is National Ancestor Day. Ancestor Day, right? So before we even get to the storytellers themselves, I would like to invite everybody to find somebody near them and just tell them about somebody that was an ancestor of theirs that had an influence on them. So you don't have to tell a whole story, just somebody that you remember, a relative of yours or an ancestor that had some influence on you. So go ahead and find somebody you know, somebody you don't know, somebody that influenced you in some way. If you're not near anybody, then you can come find I have a match. Remember to switch. You have to change the tag. About 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds. I think the person who just shared that story with me, shared a little bit about her ancestors and friends and maybe we'll just do this all night. Maybe we'll just have you just be a cocktail party. All right, can I get your attention? Great. All right. Use the old school tricks. All right. Did anybody have a nice conversation? Terrific. You are all, this is the storytelling show. You are all now storytellers. You've all been a part of the storytelling. Nothing quite makes a room smaller than to just find stories, and they are everywhere. They are among us, and they're something that delights me and something that really sort of entrances me about this place, this building, this historic building, and this community. Who here is a member of Mechanics Institute, by the way? A lot of you. Thank you for your membership. Thank you for being part of it. For those of you who are not, I'm sure that there's people who among us that would like to tell you about becoming a member, playing a lot of chess, and doing those kind of things. I'm going to tell a short story. This is what we're going to basically have in store for you tonight. I'm going to tell a little story, and then we have 5 storytellers that are going to each tell those stories. They're going to be short, about 5 minutes, and they may or may not cover the topic of ancestry or families. We will see if they do, if they don't. That's something that I kind of put out to the storytellers for tonight's show as kind of a combining, unifying theme for tonight. My story is about my current family, my immediate family, because I have a son who is 7 years old and looking ahead, looking to the future, because he is a senior in high school and he has kind of set his gaze towards what lies beyond. And as a parent, this is a horrifying and terrible moment for me, because I have not created my identity around my family and my child, but certainly the last 17 years of my life, he's been a major and powerful emotional center of my life. And so I've kind of not quite been able to envision what the future is going to be like without him in my house. Now I say that anticipating that he will not be there, but as some of you who are parents might know, sometimes they don't leave. Right? And that is entirely possible. This summer, we went on sort of some college tours. We went to visit schools. We started locally, and then we kind of fanned out. We went up to Davis. We went down to LA, Santa Barbara, the sort of Inland Empire. Then we went to the East Coast. We went to Boston, drove across Connecticut, Rhode Island, Northern Pennsylvania, Philly, Pittsburgh, where Carnegie Mellon, yeah, then up to Rochester, Ithaca, Colgate, all over the place. And when it was all done, I asked Henry, that's my son's name, where he wanted to go, or which one he liked. He thought that Berkeley sounded good. So I could have probably saved a lot of time. Just cut it off right there. But when Henry was born, we, like a lot of families, we didn't know what the sex of the baby was going to be. It was a mystery to us. We had to tell all of the ultrasound nurses not to reveal the sex of the baby. And on the day that he was actually born, the doctor asked me, as I kind of expected that he was going to ask me, one thing that a lot of new parents are asked. They asked me, do I want to cut the cord? And I said, no. It was something I definitely didn't. Any cord cutters here? Anybody ever cut a cord? You've cut 2 cords. Wow. I feel like that's a cliche, but I think that there's a sense that people say like, oh, when the baby's born, you cut the cord. There's professionals in the room to hold the medical equipment. I did not want to cut the cord. All I really wanted to do was to be the photographer and capture the moment of my child's birth. But then he asked me a question that I did not expect, which is he asked, do you want to call it? And by it, he meant the gender of the baby, right? Do I want to call it? Now, this is something that I feel like I have the training for this job. This is something I can do. I feel equipped. And so it was with a lot of excitement and encouragement when the moment came and the baby's kind of like halfway out. And I'm like getting ready for my job, and I still had my camera. I was ready for both parts, the photography and the thing, not the cord cutting. And then all of a sudden, the baby's born with a little push, and I see this 14-inch long penis. And I say, it's a boy! In my highest register, not quite realizing that it was his umbilical cord, not some manhood at that time. And then with great confusion, I said, right? And Jenny, my wonderful wife, goes, well, what is it? What is it? And the doctor's like, it's a boy, it's a boy. And I still quite was confused and thrown off by that moment. But it's moments like this, these moments that I look back on my son's life from the very first moment that he came into the world to maybe the moment that I have to cut the cord, that I will appreciate every moment that I've had with him. Thank you. Okay, so as indicated, we're going to have 5 storytellers. Now, these storytellers represent, for me, a range of friends, colleagues, storytellers that I have known, worked with for a variety of lengths of time. And your first storyteller tonight is someone that I have a particularly close bond with, because for a number of years, we were not just friends, but also colleagues. He was one of the producers of the Moth, which is a storytelling show that I also host in Berkeley and San Francisco. And he's a good friend. He's a great storyteller. So please welcome to the stage, Chris Williams.
This is unlike the Moth. They don't let you touch the mic in the Moth. Thank you, Corey. I have a question for the crowd. Do you think you know what love is?
No.
I sure don't. But there are times in which I really feel it. Love is about action more than words. And it can show up in many different and weird ways. 2001 was a really messed up year for me and my family. I grew up in New York City. My grandmother passed away, my mom's mom, in the summertime. And then I was in high school when 9/11 happened, about a mile away. There was a lot going on. I was a particularly sheltered kid. I didn't go out a lot. I had a really small group of friends. And I was just like a school kid. People in my neighborhood would make fun of me because I liked school. Cool. But I never really felt like I belonged in a lot of places. But the summer of 2002, I decided that I was gonna find out some things. Mostly about myself, but about the world. I started talking to girls. They didn't really talk to me. Started trying to make new friends. Didn't make a lot of friends. But I did get invited to some places. And one particular time, I got invited to one of these teen nights. So in New York City, back in the early aughts, there would be these like big community space gatherings for teens. No adults, crazy times. So I thought to be invited to that, you'd be really cool. And you would find something that you were looking for. So one time, it was in the summer, I went to one of these tea parties. I was invited. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm not going with friends. I'm going by myself to meet people. Usually not the way you go to a party. Usually you have friends and you go as a group and you go together. Nope, not me. But I was looking for something. Didn't know particularly what. I go to this party, don't have a great time. I'm out way too late. I don't drink, well, at the time. I didn't smoke, not a debaucherous person. I just mostly wanted to experience something. And that is until 10 o'clock came around. And I realized I missed curfew. Well, I might as well stay out. I'm not having a particularly great time. I'd rather not be home. My mom was going through it. She lost her mom. We were going through a lot of things as a city, as a country. It took a big effect on her. And it took an effect on our relationship too. Normally, I would tell her where I am, what I'm doing, exactly what time I'm being back, what train I'm taking. I didn't do any of that. That year was really rough. She was experiencing things that I kind of am experiencing now in terms of lowness, loneliness, unsureness. I think we all can feel that at some point in our lives. But I didn't know. I was 16, trying to get the hell out of my house. So I realized it's 10, and I'm like, damn, Liz is gonna be mad. And I called her Liz, I didn't call her mom. She hated that. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay. What's gonna happen? It's the worst that can happen. Hour goes by, I'm pretty bored. I should go home. It's not far. I didn't want to go. Midnight rolls around. Whew, she's gonna be mad at me. What's she gonna do? She's gonna yell at me. Had that before. It's 1 a.m. She'll probably go home now. I'll wait a little longer. 2 a.m. I think I'm going uptown. I get to my stop. 145th Street, baby. Go down the hill, make a right. I see my building. But who's that at the payphone? Mom? Quick context. We grew up very poor in the projects. We didn't have a phone that made outgoing calls. So in order to call people, you had to go to a payphone, which I don't think exists anymore. Whatever. I approach, she's across the street, I'm walking, and I'm like, oh, I think that's Liz. Is that my sister? My little sister, 7 years old, half asleep, clutched to my mom's hand. It looked like she was actually sleeping. I could hear her from across the street clear as day. 911? My son hasn't come home, he's missing. I wasn't missing. I was right there. What's wrong with you, Mom? As I try to sneak past it and not let her see me. Oh, I get to that corner and she saw me all right. Don't worry, officer. I see him. She didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. She was so upset. Not that I just missed curfew, but I didn't communicate. And I think that's something in my adult life I've realized that that's part of love. How you communicate how you love each other, whether it's physically or by your words. And even though she was mad at me and I was mad at her at that moment, I realized that that's what love can be. Someone who's so worried about you, they just want you to be okay. They may not need you there right then, but they just want to know. And now that she's gone, I really miss that about her, how much she loved. And I hope that I possess that too. Thank you.
Chris's story reminded me I need to call my mother. I think that there's something that every time I hear a story, like a personal story about a parent or a close relative, it kind of wells up for me those feelings of people that I love and that I appreciate in my life, and especially in Chris's case, people that sometimes we take for granted. And thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. All right, let's change direction and bring up another wonderful person that I'm lucky to have met in the storytelling world over the last couple of years. And he is somebody that I especially appreciate for being here tonight, because he only decided yesterday that he was going to be here. So he didn't know long in advance. And so please give a very warm welcome to the one and only Scott Young.
My mom decided the best way to ensure that I turned out straight was to buy me a poster of a headless woman dressed in kinky black underwear leaning up against a red Porsche and the Christy Brinkley swimsuit calendar for Christmas. I was 15. I'm not sure what was more traumatizing, looking at these sexualized images of women every day, or seeing the strained look of excitement on my face in the obligatory Christmas photos. Mom, you shouldn't have. My mom. Okay, so just a tip for most parents. Buying highly sexualized images of female supermodels will not in any case turn your gaze up straight. It's not like there's a lack of sexualized images of women in our society. Why lack of imagination was thought to be the problem is beyond me, because, a lot of imagination went into what was in Magnum P.I.'s short shorts. I can tell you, lack of imagination was not a problem. Problem was I was gay. Why was that a problem? Well, if you're picturing my mother as some pious woman clutching her pearls somewhere in the Midwest, she's not that. We're native Californians, and my mom is gay. Yeah, she liked to say that when my dad died in Vietnam, she turned to my babysitter for comfort and never looked back. She now denies ever pressuring me to be straight, that she always knew I was gay. So why did you buy me those pornographic pictures, Mom? My partner, Nicholas, thinks that my mom bought them so she could look at them. And I want to thank Nicholas for giving me the image of my mother coming into my childhood bedroom, dibble herself. Thank you, Nicholas. But seriously, people generally think because my mom was a lesbian, it would have been easy for me to come out. It wasn't. What it took for me to come out was my twin friend Brian dragging me to the Folsom Street Fair here in San Francisco in 1997. I was 29 and still in the closet. Now, Brian had spiky blonde hair and wore floral patterned shirts before they were cool, but always unbuttoned all the way down to show off his rock hard abs because he was also from New Jersey. I confided with Brian that I had been chatting with this Scottish bloke on AOL chat, and that he was going to the Folsom Street Fair. So Brian's like, okay, we got to go there. He made it his mission, and we lived in LA at the time. And I asked him, I said, so what is the plan for San Francisco, Brian? He's like, dick. Dick. Now we're driving up the 5 freeway. Brian pointed out that I was always pushing away the definition of gay away from me. So even though I had anal sex with a man, because I was on top, I wasn't really gay. You weren't really gay, I said, until you had one in your butt. Then you were gay. I had done that, so I wasn't gay. So we get to San Francisco. We're getting ready to go to the Folsom Street Fair, which was this last weekend here. I don't know if you guys know about it. It's leather, kinky. We're in San Francisco now, right? So I brought a silk shirt, long sleeve. which was not appropriate. And Brian told me so, and he went full Professor Higgins to my Liza Doolittle and said, "You can't wear that, you have to look blue collar." And he grabbed my undershirt, I'll never forget this, and he ripped the sleeves off in one move. He's like, "You're a bear, you're blue collar. You're a bear game." I'm like, I didn't want to be a bear. I didn't want to be gay either, actually, but when I looked in the mirror, I saw a fat, hairy guy who was unappealing at that time. And so when I met the guy I was meeting, he was 6'2", looked like he just walked off a rugby pitch, like blonde, blue-eyed, built. And when I saw him, I realized that I had a type and he was it. And lucky for me, he had a type too, fat and hairy. So we ended up back at my place and, rolling around, and then he pulls out this humongous uncut penis, and I'm like, no. No. But he said, "I'll go slow." And he did. And it was great. And the next day, when I was going to the bathroom, my friend Brian stuck his head out and said, "How'd it go?" And I said, "I'm gay." Gay. I think my favorite part of that story is that I've heard the Moth version of that story. It did not include a lot of the details. I just got to hear, which was awesome. You got this special Mechanics Institute edition. Okay, next up, we have somebody that I am so excited because the only stories that I've really read of Michael's have been written on little slips of paper over the years. I've hosted the Moth for over 10 years, and there's this tradition that we have where you can write like a little kind of mini story on a slip of paper, and Michael pretty much every month always submits those stories and delights when I kind of randomly pull them out of the bag. But this is somebody who tells stories all the time. I mean, he tells them not just on little pieces of paper. He hosts shows on KLW, on KPFA. He's been working in public radio for, I want to say 30 years to some degree. And he's a wonderful person, and I'm honored to have him here. Please welcome Michael Johnson.
Don't touch the mic.
That's my mantra to all things. So here I am in front of the mic again. I've been in front of a microphone for a number of years. And one of the things that I like to come back to a lot, and one of the things that is kind of a theme in my life, is what makes a sense of home and what makes a sense of family. These are things that still I wonder about every time I talk to someone, every time I meet someone new, which I do all the time. My wife, who's watching at home, playing the home game, knows that if we're in a crowd, and this happened since we were going out, I would always run into someone and start talking to them and would make new friends and whatnot. This is how I kind of go about life. It's something about being here in San Francisco, which I call the crossroads of the universe, is that you run into everyone. If you're in this one place for long enough, everyone else will walk in front of you at some point. And the other sense that the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is what makes a sense of family. And this comes up constantly. A little bit of background about myself. My parents came from the South, from the deep South. My father from Jacksonville, Florida. My mother from Little Rock, Arkansas. And after the war, as many African Americans did in the country, they moved to the coastal cities for opportunities, for freedom, for a sense of, what was the name of the book? I think the book was called The Warmth of Other Suns. And just to be in a place where they could be. And they met here, I believe it was at Mount Zion Hospital. And they got married. And they had a chance to do a lot of firsts here. Father studied with Ansel Adams. He actually came out to study photography with Ansel Adams, first African-American student there. And my mother started working for AT&T or Ma Bell, and or the Pacific Bell, I forget what it's called. There's so many different derivations of it there. And she was the first African-American, one of the first African-American operators there too. And they had 4 children. I was number 3. And my brother Douglas, my sister Claire, there was me, and my younger sister Patricia. Though we were born generally about 3 years apart, it really felt like we were born decades apart because of the various social movements that were happening at the time. My brother was a child of the 60s. I was from the 50s, really. He had his do-rag and these other things, and it just felt like he was from that era. My sister was a child of the 60s because we grew up by that time in a little neighborhood called the Haight-Ashbury. And a lot of things were happening there. It was world famous, it's still world famous. People are still coming to the Haight in order to bring their kids there, and people are still hanging out there to get a sense of what that is. I was more of a child of the 70s in a way. Even though, like I say, it was just 3 years separating us all, it feels like we were decades apart. Part of the interesting consequence of that, of those various social movements, is that we're kind of disparate. We're not as close as many siblings are. My wife has a wonderful, close relationship with her siblings, her 4 siblings. She's from Germany, and they are as close as they can be. I knew this the first moment that I met her and met her brother who came to visit. They were turning cartwheels down at the marina. I'll never forget this. I thought, my God, they should just, I can see the vibe between them. And it made me long for that. I don't want to say jealous because I was happy for her, but it was a longing for that type of closeness. And so when the 70s came around and I was coming closer to high school age, I was just visiting, a park, a local park in the Haight. And this young woman was there. She was babysitting a couple of people, a couple of kids. And we started talking and we realized that we're going to be going to the same high school. And so that was great. And then she also introduced me to my family. And explained that we were part of this, she was part of this church youth group, Unitarian church called LRY, the Liberal Religious Youth, or Lesbian Refugees from Yugoslavia. Or leftover raspberry yogurt. You know. But the Unitarians called it LRY, Liberal Religious Youth. And that turned out to be this family for me, this bigger family. I didn't know that at the time. And what I also didn't know is that the thing that we had in common was some of the distress that is in the families. We were all from maybe situations where parents were either single parents or divorced parents or about to be divorced parents, as I found out in my case there too. But it did provide me a sense of family and a sense of caring about a group of people. And it also made me realize that family can be much bigger than who you're related to by blood, especially if there was some pain and distress in that family. As it were, this wasn't my family, escaping the South and all the pain and oppression of the South. But we hung together as a group. As actually one of the members of that family here tonight. We've known each other for 50 years, 50 plus years. And it's something that has been so important to me to have that as a sense of family. And also helped me when I began my own family. I met this woman from Germany, an Irish bar, of course. And we had this conversation. And I learned that she was a teacher. And that she was working with severely emotionally disturbed children, teenagers. And there was something about that compassion, that deep compassion that she had and still has for children that was very alive to me, something that was very real, something that was very important in this world, and something that resonated with me greatly. And we've been married now for about 30 years or so. We have a daughter who's 24 years old, and someone who, as our resonance with each other, sort of worked with her in order to just give her a place in the world. You know, she's a citizen of so many places right now. She's a young woman of the world. She speaks languages fluently. She has a great ease with languages. And I'm very proud of her, and very proud of her mother as well for helping to put that together to make this person who can continue this idea of reaching out to people, telling stories. Telling stories is so important. It's the one thing when I think back about my own family and about my mother and my father, that I wish that they had told stories to me. They were fleeing, I think, so much discomfort and pain that they hid their stories from me. They hid their stories from our family. They didn't tell us about some of the aggression and some of the intense things that happened to them. I had to find this out, at least on my father's side, when I did a documentary about him on NPR in the 90s. I wish that I had done the same for my mother. I think I've done her a disservice by not asking her as many questions as I have asked my dad. She's passed away, 2008. My father is still with us. He's just turned 97. And I think if you get a chance to ask questions, to ask someone for their stories, do it. Ask them about what their experience is. It could be a total stranger. It can be someone that you've never met before. It can be someone who has been by your side for your entire life. Right now, the stories that I was able to ask my father years ago, I have those with me. But now a lot of the stories are locked up because he has dementia, advanced dementia. And some of those stories are locked up in his head. And most of his concerns now are, did I do okay? Is the family okay? Was I a good father? I don't judge him for whatever mistakes he may have made, because I believe that him and my mother did the best that they could over all of those years. It's not my place to judge them, because I'm just trying to do the best that I can. I'm not always successful, but I try. And so I'm wishing for all of you that you can tell stories to others, or ask others to tell you their stories. It can be a total stranger. It can be someone that you've known all your life. There was a line that came out of a movie that I think I mentioned to my wife the first time I met her. The movie is The Year of Living Dangerously. There's a character in there named Billy Kwan. And he is asking Mel Gibson, who's a reporter in Indonesia, I believe it is, in Jakarta, as he's watching this tragic scene in front of them of people that are poor and people that are struggling. He cites Luke 3:10. I'm not a big Bible person, but the crowd asks Jesus, what then must we do? What then must we do? And Tolstoy, thinking about that answer, saying, well, we add our light to the sun of the planet. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to continue to do that, and then hoping that that will resonate out amongst everyone else that you may meet or have a chance to talk to. Thank you.
That was gorgeous, that was beautiful. Worth the wait, let me just say that, it was worth the wait. One of my favorite things about Michael and about the story that he just told, first, it was a story about storytelling, right? About what we're all doing, about how we started this day, telling stories to each other, and I love his sort of admonition to you all to keep doing that, because especially with this theme that we're exploring tonight about families, they're both the families that we have and the families that we choose and that we surround ourselves with, and they are all full of stories. So thank you, Michael, for that. All right, our next storyteller is, without a doubt, one of my favorite storytellers in San Francisco, in the world. I just say in the world, best storyteller ever. No. She and I have met and performed together many, many times in different settings. She is herself an acclaimed author. She's written 4 books on poetry, 4 poetry books. She's written for Chicken Soup for the Soul. She is working on a young adult fiction novel, which I'm dying to read. And you get to hear her tell a story right now. So please welcome to the stage, Eva Schlesinger.
Yes, we have no bananas. My mother and I had just arrived at SFO after visiting my brother and sister-in-law in Hong Kong for 2 weeks. Our trip was the first time we had traveled together for longer than 3 days. I had some trepidation. Mother worries about what people think. A conversation is not complete without her asking, "What will people think of you if you do such and such?" She also worries about the outcome of things, assuming they'll end badly. Usually I groan and roll my eyes. I also worried about what she would say if I did something outrageous. I wanted to just be myself and not have her comments interrupting my flow on our vacation. Our trip had actually gone without a hitch. We talked, we laughed. Because I was enjoying myself, I was not worrying about what she or anyone else was thinking about me. Before we left Hong Kong, we bought bananas to eat on the plane. I put mine in my handbag under the seat in front of me, and hers was in her roll-along knapsack in an overhead bin several rows behind ours. As we settled into our seats, she said, "We must remember to eat our bananas." "No problem," I said. "I'll have mine for breakfast." At 2:30 a.m., the flight attendant brought our customs forms. My mother pointed to one item that read, "I am bringing fruit/vegetables back to U.S. soil." I checked no, she said. Surprise flickered through me. In theory, we were bringing fruit back, but I rationalized, by the time we arrived, we would have eaten our bananas. A few hours later, she said, I would like to get my banana. How will you do that? I didn't know if she had the upper body strength to reach into the far left corner of the bin, drag out her bag, and maneuver it to the floor since she had complained about its weight as we trekked through Hong Kong. Had it been stored over our row, I would have offered to retrieve it. Since I had the aisle seat, I knew I wouldn't hit anyone on the head with it if it fell. But it rested above someone else's row. The thought of getting it down made me worry about dropping it on the man seated below the bin. I know what you can do. Wait for the plane to land, get someone to help you with your bag, then eat your banana. Oh no, Eva, that wouldn't be legal. She changed her mind as I ate my bananas. Can you eat my banana too? I'll give it to you after we land. Maybe her lack of sleep kept her from thinking clearly. It was unlike her to think such a thing. I did plan to eat it, but just then we hit turbulence, and by the time we taxied to our gate, I was eager to be the first to race off the plane and into the nearest bathroom. When I emerged, I caught up to my mother and we made a beeline to baggage claim, then federal inspection, where we dropped our bags and rested. I still have my banana, she said. You'll have to eat it now. Since I was used to her extreme moral self, it didn't occur to me that she could be anything but. Unpeeling her banana, I stuffed giant-sized bites between my lips. I did not feel good about what I was doing. What if I got a stomachache? Halfway through eating it, a U.S. Customs official strode over. May I please see your passports? Is this about the banana? I asked. He nodded. I can explain. It was in my mother's knapsack and she planned to eat it on the plane, but she didn't get a chance, so she gave it to me. We both knew it was wrong, but he held up his hand to stop me. You can hand in your banana now, and you won't be in trouble, or keep eating it, your choice. For a second, I was tempted to keep eating it. I needed the potassium to give me strength. But I also valued our freedom, so I discussed the matter with my partner in crime. My mother decided she'd hand it in. It was, after all, her banana. I felt sad giving it up. What a waste of a good banana! As the doors swung open for our grand entrance, my mother and I doubled over laughing. She had shown a different side of herself, and though we nearly got arrested, love swelled inside me, linking us. I wouldn't trade that for anything, not even a banana. Thank you.
Keep it going, bring you the Schlesinger. Thank you. I will think about that with the next banana that I eat, probably the next. Wonderful. Okay, we have reached the final storyteller of the night, who is I'm delighted to say that probably the newest storyteller of the crop that you're gonna see tonight, to me, somebody that I have not known for years and years. In fact, we met just this past summer in the woods. Yes, we met in the woods. And we connected, and since then, I have been delighted to find out that he is also a performer and does a monthly show at the Claremont Hotel in Berkeley that I had the great fortune to see. And I would like to, without further ado, welcome to the stage your final storyteller for tonight, Dennis Kyriakos.
Hi. Well, this is exciting. Yeah, my name's Dennis, and what Corey did not mention is that I am a professional magician, not musician. Magician. But first, before we go any further, I need to acknowledge Corey because he just did the first magic trick of the night. He pronounced my last name right. That was amazing. Let's have a little bit of fun. What is your name, sir? David, do you play cards at all? You do, fantastic. I've got a red deck and a blue deck, David. So here's the thing, I'm gonna ask you to choose one of these decks for you to use. You can use either one, you can use the red one or the blue one. I'm not trying to influence you in any way. Think of a color in your mind, decide on the one that feels right for you, and I'll use the one that's left. Works every David, take them out of the box and give them a little shuffle, David. You can mix them any way you like. You can give them one of these fancy shuffles, like they do in the casinos. I have a lot of time on my hands. Or you can give them one of those kind of generic overhand shuffles. Just kind of keep them moving in your hands while I'm telling you a little story here. People often ask me when they find out I'm a magician, how did you get into magic? So here's the story. I'm the son of Greek immigrants. My mom is from a little tiny little village way, way up in the mountains of Greece. I would tell you the name, but I promise you, you have no idea where this place is. But it's beautiful. I've been there a couple of times. Beautiful place. Wouldn't want to live there, but it's a beautiful place to visit. She grew up in the middle of World War II. That village was occupied. It was a very, very difficult time at that time for her and her family and everyone there. And there really wasn't a high school to speak of in that town. So her and all of her friends who were around the same age, they would travel over to the next village, which was a bit of a larger village. And they would spend the week there in school, and on the weekends they would make a trek back across the valley to be with their family. It was uphill both ways. In the snow. They never had any shoes. Stop me if you've heard this one. My mom's dream was to be a nurse, probably because she was the oldest of 6 kids, and she was always taking care of somebody. And that's what she did. She went to nursing school there. She worked as a nurse in Greece. And she ended up immigrating to the States in the early 60s. She landed in Astoria, Queens, and got a job in a little hospital there. Keep mixing those cards, Dave. Very important that you mix those cards. She got a job in a little hospital there. She started in the ER. She didn't like it very much. She moved to the maternity ward. That really wasn't her thing. And then she ended up in the OR, assisting the doctors, who was a scrub nurse. And she thrived there. For whatever reason, she loved that. In fact, she got so good at it that one of the top doctors, one of the top surgeons in New York City who had hours there, would demand that they take my mom off of whoever schedule she was on and put her on his schedule whenever he was having surgeries there. And she barely spoke a word of English at the time. Or so the story goes. Are you shuffling there? Are you good? What is your name? Christina. Christina, I need you to make sure there's nothing in the box.
Okay.
Is that box empty, Christina?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. We're gonna put these cards go in that box. And Christina, I'm gonna ask you to hold on to these. Do not let me touch these cards again. Okay? Fantastic, fantastic. Christina, name a number between 1 and 52.
48.
48. You don't want maybe like 12? 15? Because later on, we're gonna have to count 1, 2, 3. You want to count to 48? I'm happy with that, but you know. No, that's totally fine. You want 48? That's totally fine. Final answer? You sure? You sure?
Yeah.
Final answer, 6?
Yeah.
Oh, you can change your mind again if you'd like, or you can stick with 6. Stick with 6, okay. My dad was from Tripoli, which is a larger city in Greece. You may have heard of Tripoli. And he was basically uneducated. High school diploma, maybe. He didn't talk very much about his education. Came to the States around the same time as my mom did, landed in the same, in Astoria as well. He had a job as a courier in the Greek embassy and some other odd jobs around New York City. And when he met my mom and they started courting and getting married and all that, he was working in a flower shop, kind of right around the corner from the hospital. And when the owner of that shop decided to retire and sell the business, he offered it to my dad because he was a loyal guy and my dad had no other prospects. So he bought the business and he became a florist. And my mom, being the beautiful wife that she was, quit her dream of being a nurse to help my dad build that business. They spent the next 50 years in that flower shop. In fact, if you go to 42nd Street and 30th Avenue in Astoria, Queens, today, in that spot, you'll find a flower shop there. These all shuffled, David?
Yes.
Fantastic. It sounded like you did a great job. Yeah. Okay, great. So my brother and I were basically born there in that shop. We were raised there basically, and being the firstborn son of Greek immigrants, it was expected that I would take over that business. I had other plans. David, do me a favor. Hold up one finger. Very good choice, David. Very good choice. I'm gonna come out there to you in a moment. I'm gonna spread the cards out. I just want you to drop your finger down somewhere in the middle, okay? And just choose your card. In fact, when I get there, just close your eyes and drop your finger somewhere in the middle there. Just drop your finger right down there. Great. Drop it down. Great. Fantastic. Grab the card. Take the card. Which one did you get? Take a look. Ace of Spades. Very good choice. You shuffled these cards yourself, and you ended up choosing the Ace of Spades without even looking at it. Good. So, I got into magic when I was about 10. I became obsessed with it. That's all I ever wanted to do. And I remember growing up and doing magic shows for my family. We got together, a big Greek family, so we all got together for holidays and birthdays and things like that. Now we'd always do a little bit of magic. And I remember my cousins and my aunts and my uncles telling me, and my mom telling me, and I quote, if you want to do magic and make a living at it, for adults, you want to do magic and make a living, you need to learn how to make balloon animals, put on a clown nose, because no adult in their right mind would ever pay another adult to watch them do card tricks. And yet, here we are. Yeah. What number did you say? 6. You said 6. Take the cards out of the box. I don't want to touch those cards. Keep them face down in your hand. And I want you to deal 5 cards onto the table. I need to my hand. Count them out loud, one at a time, so we know exactly. If you want, sure. You can flip the face up so you see they're all different. They're all mixed. 5 cards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't move, stay right there. Take that card, that's card number 6. Keep it face down and set it down right there. Face down, don't show it to anyone. I don't want to touch that card. I'll put these cards back in the box. I'm gonna give these to you, and you can keep those as a little gift. Thank you very much. And have a seat. So, I grew up thinking and believing in my heart that what is happening here tonight, what I'm doing tonight, was impossible. I shit you not, for the longest time. And yet here I am. And I learned along the way, after so many years of going through that and finally figuring it all out, and I know this is gonna sound cheesy, the fact is that nothing you set your mind to is impossible. However, some things are highly unlikely. David, you chose the Ace of Spades from that deck that you shuffled. Christina, yes, you said the number, what, 48? And then you changed your number to 46, and then you ended up with 6. And you dealt down to the 6th card in that shuffle deck. Yes, exactly the same. Wow.
Dennis Kyriakos over in the Dennis's show is conjuringwonder.com if you want to check out his show at the Claremont Hotel. It's a monthly show he does there. And what a special night. Let's hear it for all of the storytellers. I'm going to bring them all in for a curtain call, but I just want to thank you all. Thank you all for coming out on a Wednesday night. It's Wednesday, right? Yeah, on a Wednesday night. And a reminder that we do this monthly, so it'll be the last Wednesday of every month. So the next show will be October 25th. Fabulous. Please give it up one more time for the Mechanics Institute. My name is Rosen. My website, if you're interested in more things that I do, classes, a book that I wrote and things like that, is at CoreyRosen.com. And without further ado, please welcome back to the stage all of the storytellers from tonight's show for a final curtain call. Schlesinger, Michael Johnson, Dennis Kyriakos, Chris Williams, and Scott Young. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.